I'm Sam Manuela. I'm half Cook Island and half European. So my dad is Cook Island. He lives in Rarotonga, and he moved to New Zealand. My mum's white. She's from a farm in Antiquity. Moved to Auckland, met my dad, and had me. And yeah, so that's me, Cook Island and white.
So you identify as that?
Yeah, I just say I'm Cook Island because it's easier. But yeah, how about yourself?
I'm Sehar Mughal. I'm from Pakistan. So I came here 13 years ago, and I definitely identify as a Pakistani. Yeah.
Cool. So, what does your ethnic background mean to you?
Initially, a few years back when I first came here, I was ashamed of being a Pakistani, and I think it was more to do with because a lot of people said things like "curry muncher" or you know, "you're a fob, go back to your country." It was really hard for me to say that yes, I was a Pakistani out in the open. But I think I've realized that my color and my identity is my pride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And what about you?
Yeah, well, me growing up, I didn't really connect with my culture, really. I just thought I'm just plain old New Zealand. But it's just in high school I started to become more engaged in my background, and then university as well. And so now I'm so identity is a journey, and then my journey happened to start in high school. I just discovered myself, discovered my roots, and now I'm just so proud to be Cook Island.
Yeah, because it must be really hard, because have you ever been to the islands?
Yes, I go not a lot, but I just got back last week.
Oh wow.
And it's always reaffirming to go back and engage with your family, your culture in a proper environment. Not that New Zealand's not proper, but it's just hard, it's harder to engage with your culture within New Zealand.
Yeah, I think home is home, and I find that New Zealand is my home, but Pakistan is my home as well, and I can't give up on either.
Have lots of homes all over the world.
Yes.
Some are easier to live in than others. Cool. So you're talking before about people called you curry muncher.
Yeah, I know.
And so that's horrible. But you also mentioned that some of your friends who aren't South Asian think it's fine since you do eat curry. Do you want to expand on?
I just find, well, initially when people would call me a curry muncher, I couldn't understand what it meant because we don't munch on curry at all. And the second thing was that I didn't understand why it was a label. I didn't see other people getting labeled by the food that they ate. And so when I spoke with a lot of my non-South Asian friends, they couldn't understand what the problem was, because they were like, but you do eat curry, so what's the problem? In high school it was really bad, and I think that at the university initially it wasn't that bad, and I thought, okay, maybe it's just a high school thing. But since I started wearing my traditional clothes, I find that it has increased. So, students, I worked at the Information Commons at the University of Auckland, and students come, and after helping them, they would say something like, oh, I hate curry munchers. Or students walking past, they would say, oh, she's a curry muncher, or go back to your country. And it's the same with my own ethnicity. So South Asian students or people would say the same thing. So if they see me wearing these clothes and I'm walking towards the university and stuff, they would make comments. It's really hurtful.
I can imagine. I think your clothes are great.
Oh, thank you.
I like people expressing their culture.
Yeah.
Makes life much more vibrant.
Yeah. So you described an incident of racism while walking to your office.
Yes.
Yeah. And you challenged the party. So
I did.
So what happened?
I was walking to my office and by myself, and there was a group of students behind me. One of them, they were all Pākehā students. And that's all I knew about them. But they were one of them was talking about his first time that he went to Papatoi, Papatoetoe, and he was just like, the place is so different, it's not where I'm from, and there's like so many brown people, so many Indians. I was just like listening to him, like I was like, okay, where's this conversation gonna go? And then because I lived in Papatoi for a bit, and then he was like, you know what, the place is just so hoary, everyone there is so hoary. And I was like, and then I just turned around and I was like, what do you mean by hoary? And then him and his friends, like they were laughing before, and then now they were just like,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
no, yeah, what do you mean? And I kind of put him on the back foot because he didn't really expect someone to confront him about something like that. You know, I don't know what exactly he meant by hoary, but my understanding of that is,
No, that's not right.
a derogatory term. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, me confronting him about that, it shut him down. And he didn't say anything, so I just continued walking, and they were walking right behind me as well.
Yeah,
And there was
yeah.
a kind of awkward silence for a bit. And then he apologized. He's like, I'm sorry if I offended you. And I was like, well, you don't have to apologize for offending me, but you just have to acknowledge that what you say is offensive to people.
Yeah. And I think it's important because if this is the first time that he's gone to Papatoi, and then this is the first time that his friends have never been to Papatoi, and so they're getting the image of what he thinks it is.
Yeah.
And you know, it's good that you did speak out. Yeah.
I don't think it can be difficult for people to
Yeah.
do so, you know.
Yeah, like I had an incident the other day, and 2 students falsely accused another student of stealing their jacket. And I know this woman, you know, she's been there for a long time, and she's generally anxious anyways. So I stepped up and I said, what do you mean she stole your jacket? I know her, this is her jacket, and leave her alone. And I told her that, you know, it's okay, you can go. And she was a Maori Pacific. And when she left, I asked the students, I said, why did you accuse her? Did you see her stealing your jacket? And they said, because she looked like it. And I was so angry. I said to them that if you had come to me and falsely accused me because I looked like the part, I would have ripped into you. Yeah. So they apologized. They were like, you know, I apologize. And I said, you don't need to apologize to me. You need to apologize to that woman, which they did. And the fact that you need to understand you cannot just say things based on other people, you know, their appearances. It's stereotypes.
Yeah, I guess that's the main issue there, isn't it? It's like we can, you know, talk to people about how the things that they say are offensive and racist and discriminatory, but it's whether or not those people understand those actions and the effects that they have. That's a completely different issue. And
I think it's that subtle racism, so it's easier for people to say, oh, you know, maybe we should stop calling all Indians curry munchers. It's easier because you can identify it. But it's a subtle racism that when you look at another group and you say, well, you know, she's wearing Indian clothes, she probably is already married, and or she doesn't speak English, or the fact that she's oppressed. So it's these stereotypes that are really, really, I think, dangerous.
And they're hard to pick up on a lot of the time.
They are, only the oppressor would know, because you know, when you're actually going and speaking to them, or you don't get scholarships, or the fact that you don't get into a program, or you're standing at the university at an administrative line and they don't acknowledge you at all, and then you actually have to go up to them and say something. And there have been so many times when they've looked at me and wonder that, you know, oh my God, you can speak English.
Oh my goodness. And so you talked about, you know, wearing your clothes.
Yeah.
And so that's a way to express your culture. And so about people being a bit apprehensive about that. So how do you think we could kind of break down that barrier?
I find that, so I've attended a lot of events. So I started wearing these clothes 2 or 3 times a week for the last year. And the reason that I want to do is I want to break the stereotypes that my clothing and my skin color has nothing to do with my ability to educate myself. And so I've been going to formal events wearing this when they have mentioned that, you know, you should wear formal clothes to these events. And I find that when I speak with them, and predominantly they're white students or white people hosting the events, and I find when I initially go there, I have to make a conscious effort to engage them in a conversation, because they just shut down. They don't know how to react to me just because I'm wearing a different outfit.
They just see the clothes create
I know.
this barrier in their mind that they can't communicate
it's a
with
barrier,
you.
yes. So I have to smile more often, I need to engage more often. I'm the one who initiates the conversation, and it's been really, really tiring. But I just find this as, you know, bringing out that elephant in the room, making it visible. I think that's important.
And so, like, after you engage and initiate the conversation, like, how are they?
They're surprised. They're like, oh, so what are you studying? You know, psychology. They're surprised. I think, but it's how I feel that they react to me. But it's their behaviors as well, and I've noticed this time and time again. If it had happened once, I would have been fine with it. If it happens twice, fine. But over the past year, it has happened so many times that it's not coincidence, and it's not something that I'm internalizing. It's actually happening. So you mentioned the bystander effect. So can you explain what it is and why it's important?
This is this weird thing that happens. So when there is some situation happening, the more and like obviously that situation needs someone to perhaps come in and help or intervene. But the more people that are there, the less likely people are to help or step in to do something. And there's a whole range of reasons why, but one of the largest consequences of that is it allows that behaviour to occur.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the problems that happens with discrimination in New Zealand, is that people are afraid to step in. You know, you don't want to appear overstepping someone else's boundaries. Otherwise, you don't know the whole situation that is going on. You don't know what has led to there. Other times, if it is getting quite physical, you don't want to get hurt. And you know, you want to protect yourself. You want to protect others people. And so that kind of creates this, again, another barrier for people to step in. But you know, there are other ways to help. It only takes one person to make that difference.
And I think you make a good point, because if you look at it from a racism point of view, it means that it's people are saying it's someone else's responsibility. So we can all stand, and at a physical thing, it could say that, you know, if someone is being racist towards another person, and there's quite a few people around there like, oh, someone must go and speak with them. Why should we go?
Why isn't my problem?
But at a bigger scale, it's more to do with, you know, who takes responsibility for racism.
And also at the same time, we have to think about, if you are observing this paper or this behaviour, other times it could be people that agree with that as well.
Exactly,
and that's the real heartbreaking thing. But you know, we don't know what they're thinking.
No.
But hopefully, people do find the courage to speak out and, you know, stamp racism in the face. Kindly, of course, in a nice way. We don't want to get in trouble. Cool. And so you're talking about some of your friends and like how they've kind of like assimilated into New Zealand culture. Like,
so I find that what I find really hurtful is not other people telling me that I am a curry muncher and I'm a fob or I should go back to my country. It's the people of my community. And I think it's really hurtful because I'm saying that we're going through the same problems. And I think for them, maybe it's a defense mechanism. So they're trying too hard to be white. I think that's what it is. So they're getting rid of their culture. I've had conversations with my friends who've said that, you know, you look really nice in these clothes. And I said, well, you have them. Why would you not wear them? And they're shocked. Even at the suggestion, they're like, what? No, we would just feel so uncomfortable. We can't do that at the university setting. And most of them have told me that, you know, I should go back to Pakistan. And it's not just my friends. It's if people are walking on the street or at the university, and they come to me and they say, you know, you should go back to your country, or did you just come? And I think they're probably alluding to the fact that these clothes are bringing the brownness out of me. And I try to tell them that it's not. I am brown, and I am an Indian and a Pakistani, and I can't change that. And these clothes are not something that I'm ashamed of. It's part of my culture. So what does it mean to you being a scholarship student?
Yes. Well, I've been very fortunate to receive quite a few scholarships. And I got one for undergrad, for my master's, and for my PhD.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you. It was felt amazing to get free money. But I got my undergrad and my master scholarships. They were for Māori and Pacific students. And I had an incident in one of my honours classes where a girl was talking about how it's unfair that there are scholarships for Māori and Pacific students. And I was sitting there, you know, I wasn't as brave as I was as I am now. But she was talking about, you know, this is unfair. Why should certain ethnic groups get privilege over others? And looking back on it now, I did speak up. I said, oh, these scholarships are in place to acknowledge that there's inequalities that are there, there's disparities in education, and this is trying to, one of the ways that we can go towards reducing those disparities. And then she said, well, I'm from Zimbabwe, there's nothing for me. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
but now when I think about it, it's very easy to pick on Māori and Pacific scholarships because
Yeah.
it's an easy narrative to create.
Mm.
We don't hear much about scholarships targeted towards other underrepresented groups such as women in science and engineering,
Yeah.
students with disabilities. You know, we don't hear people attacking those scholarships, even though they're based on the same premise to reduce disparities or increase numbers within those particular programs, whatever. But it's easy to discriminate against Māori and Pacific
Yes.
scholarships because
Yeah.
discrimination already occurs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've had a few conversations with my friends about that,
Mm.
and yes, I am aware of the issue. It's quite interesting. I think that I always tell my friends, well, you know, if I am in Pakistan, I do get more scholarships and stuff. That's part of being a Pakistani. So.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
current scholarship is just a general PhD scholarship.
Oh wow.
And then people are like, oh, how are you funding your research? I'm like, oh, my scholarship. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, is it a Pacific
Yeah.
one? I'm like, no, it's a regular scholarship.
Yeah.
But that's just another thing that
No.
because you're on scholarship, it doesn't
They
mean
think
it's
that-
a
yeah.
Māori or Pacific
Yeah,
scholarship.
they're probably thinking that if it is a scholarship, it's not on your academic ability. It's just because, you know, yeah.
Which is heartbreaking, but
It is. It is. I think it's the same with getting positions in a department. So a lot of people don't think it's based on your credibility or your ability to do it. They're like, oh, they probably just want a brown face
Yeah.
in the crowd, so that's why they're doing it. And maybe they are, I don't know. But it's heartbreaking to
it is.
realize that, you know, yeah.
So what are some of the changes that you'd like to see in the university to address everyday subtle racism?
I think that people need to stop putting people in boxes. I understand that humans have a tendency to put other people in boxes because it makes more sense, but it does have a lot of adverse effects on other students and, you know, the people that are involved. So there needs to be, if there are rules or policies, people need to adhere to it. Students need to know what their rights are and what's happening, and more conversations need to happen around this. Yeah.
Cool.
And it's common practice to challenge other people's ideologies. What about your own?
Yes, I challenge myself every day. When you talked about earlier about your friends, you know,
Yep.
Amongst my friends, we banter amongst ourselves. So I mock my Samoan friends mock their Tongan friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, those mocks are fueled by racist and discriminatory actions that are informed by mainstream racism. But for us, it's a way just to affirm our own identities with through humour. But for other people to do that, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've recognised the own hurtful things that I say can be hurtful things that I say can be hurtful for others.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for us to mock fobs because of their accents.
Yes.
But then now I'm just like, no, you know what?
No,
They're
no.
bilingual.
Exactly.
They are able to communicate within their language.
Exactly.
And I can't mock that because I can't even speak Cook
No.
And so,
Yeah.
and so for me, it's just about, you know, where are you coming from when you are mocking someone?
Yeah.
Are you coming from a place of privilege, or are you coming from a place of like deficits? And
No.
if I'm just trying to build bridges through humour, then
Yeah.
fine. If I'm trying to denigrate
Yeah.
someone through humour, it's not fine.
No.
Yeah.